This is the Recruiting Guy Podcast. And now, here's your host, Richard Davenport.
Welcome to this week's podcast. It's 1:44 on Wednesday in case there's any late breaking news or anything like that. And this is posted and you think, oh, why didn't he mention that particular news? You know why. But anyway, this weekend is a big weekend for Arkansas football as far as official visits and basketball as far as unofficial visits. We'll get on those two sports right now. As far as football, have 13 guys coming in as of now. That can change. I wouldn't in doubt to see maybe one more guy added to the list, but we'll go down the list real quick and make some quick comments about each one. Savion Williams, the receiver from Marshall, Texas, 6'4", about 215 pounds, who was committed to Arkansas, obviously decommitted after Coach Morris was fired. He officially visited SMU in December, had a very, very good visit from what I understand. And maybe the only reason he did not sign early with the Mustangs, well, I do know that the only reason he didn't was because of his relationship with Coach Justin Stepp and his respect for Coach Stepp. So that's delayed everything for Savion, and he will make an official visit to Arkansas this weekend. I think if you're able to get him back on board, he could be one of these guys in 2 or 3 years that people are talking about as one of the better receivers in the SEC. I think he is that good. Running back Ebony Jackson from Marietta, Georgia, Cherokee High School, 6'1", about 205 pounds, currently committed to Maryland. He's slated to visit. Don't know a lot about Ebony other than he was injured this past season. And he told me he ran a 10-400 meters. And if you look at his film, I'm not going to dispute that because his film is quite impressive. His speed automatically jumps out, and you notice it just right off the bat. Tight end Alan Horse from Crockett, Texas, another former commitment tight end, 6'4", about 250 pounds, very athletic guy. I've been very high on Allen for quite some time. He's a multi-sport athlete, very, very good basketball player, averages about a double-double in basketball. But he'll be visiting. He's going to UT San Antonio where Jeff Traylor and Barry Lunny Jr. are right now on the 24th. Then supposed to go to Maryland on the 31st. This is obviously a big weekend to try to get him back in the fold because let's face it, Arkansas's numbers at tight end right now is kind of slim. So definitely would like to try to get him on back on board. Defensive end commitment, Jaqueline McGee from Fort Valley, Georgia, Peach County High School, 6'4", 255 pounds. He's a guy that could play defensive end, but wouldn't be surprised at all if he moves inside. Very raw kid who's only played football for 2 years. Huge upside, very athletic. I could see him carrying 290, 300 pounds and being a very, very mobile inside guy. Defensive end commitment, Jashad Stewart, 6'2", 223 from Jonesboro. I see him at defensive end. Arkansas right now looks at him as a defensive end, but I think there's also that possibility, like everybody else, thinking he could possibly move to linebacker. But he's again, I've raved about Jashad for about a year and a half. Very, 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 very violent when he meets the ball carrier. Very physical, very explosive. Love him coming off the edge. But he does have the speed and athletic ability to play linebacker too. So we'll be interested to see what happens there. Eric Thomas, defensive end from Pensacola, Florida. Booker T. Washington High School, 6'3", 230. has an Arkansas offer, had a Colorado State offer when Bobo was there, but obviously he was let go. Really, really under the radar type guy. He plays for a school that's really struggled to I think they won 4 or 5 games in about 4 years until this past season, when I think, if my memory serves me right, they won 8 games and lost 2. But oftentimes losing teams sometimes are overlooked, especially with college recruiters, and you just kind of look at kids playing for a losing team, and you don't look at guys playing for a struggling program very often unless he really jumps out at you. And I think that Eric could be one of those guys that flies underneath the radar, and you could look back in 2 or 3 years and think, man, he was really a steal. Nice film, a lot of tackles for losses and sacks, very disruptive. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Commitment, Nick Turner, DB. Arkansas is looking at him as a cornerback, 6 foot, about 184, from Brother Martin High School in New Orleans. He officially visited Arkansas during the season and was committed to Georgia Tech, but picked the Hogs after an in-home visit with Coach Pittman. Obviously, he knew all about Arkansas as far as what to expect from his visit and all that. So, but he's a guy that has got outstanding speed, about 4.4. Some people have said he runs a 4.3. We'll see, but a very interesting prospect who could play safety too, but I think right now they like him at cornerback. Offensive lineman Jalen St. John, 6'5", 320, from St. Louis Trinity Catholic High School, was committed to Missouri with Coach Odom and Coach Brad Davis, and reopened things shortly after Coach Odom was let go at Missouri. He'll be in this weekend, and then he's got a scheduled visit to Florida State on January the 31st. And last time I talked to him, he's deciding from Auburn, Michigan, or Tennessee for January the 24th. He even admitted that he could possibly even commit this weekend. It's a possibility, not saying it's going to, but if he did, he wouldn't announce it because he's going to announce his college decision on signing day, February the 5th. So I think Arkansas is in very good shape with him. Ja'Cory Turner from Atlanta Woodward County High School, 6'2", 205, linebacker. Arkansas is maybe full at linebacker, but if they take another one, obviously I think he could be one of those guys. He's very excited about coming in this weekend with his parents, so keep an eye on him. Broderick Jones, everybody obviously is very excited about him, the ESPN 5-star offensive tackle from Georgia. Been committed to Georgia for quite some time. Huge reason because of that was Coach Pittman. So that's obviously why he's checking out Arkansas, because of his relationship with Coach Pittman. He is slated to visit Georgia on the 24th and then Auburn on the 31st. To be able to get him away from Georgia would be just it would just be a testimony to Coach Pittman and his ability to recruit and what kids think about him when they are recruited by him. They just love him. The parents love him. So I think he ends up at Georgia, but in the 3 years that Coach Pittman was at Arkansas, he never I got to the point where nothing surprised me as far as guys that he could land. It didn't matter who they were being recruited by, and that's something that he showed in 3 years at Arkansas, and obviously his years at Georgia, and prior to that too. I mean, he's just been an outstanding recruiter from day one. Deshaun Edwards, running back from Colquitt County High School in Georgia. He's one to keep an eye on. going forward, even though you tend to think that this late relationship with Coach Pittman and Coach Jimmy Smith will be kind of hard to overcome. The longer relationships with Georgia and Florida State. He's supposed to visit Georgia the 24th and Florida State on the 31st. Obviously, those two schools closer to home. It appears that he wants to be close to home, but I don't know. We'll see. Again, I've said it from the minute Coach Smith was hired at Arkansas. He has a chance to really do some serious damage in Georgia because he's such a well-known and well-respected coach in the state of Georgia from his high school days. He was you just talked about anybody in Georgia and they just rave about him. Several kids that I've talked to just recently say, yeah, Coach Smith, I know him and I really like him, and he's so respected. So again, don't dismiss him maybe being a Razorback in the future, but again, I think probably Georgia or Florida State. Felipe Franks, quarterback, obviously grad transfer from Florida, is expected to come in. As noted, January the 17th, Friday, is the last day to be able to register for classes for this next semester. So he would have to make a quick decision, and you would think that if he does follow through with the visit, that you would tend to think that that's his thinking is that he'll make a decision and register for classes on Friday. But again, we'll see. As far as possible commitments, I forgot Kyrie Johnson, defensive back from Connecticut. He made an unofficial visit to Arkansas during the season. He'll be coming in. He and his dad made an unofficial visit to Arkansas. His mom will accompany them this time, and that would be a huge deal because, like he said, Mama makes the decision. So, like in a lot of households, but I feel very, very good about Arkansas's chances with him. Wouldn't shock me if he pulls the trigger this weekend. Great kid. I tweeted out that he's probably one of the most humble and appreciative kids that I've talked to in 14, 15 years of doing recruiting. He's just a great kid. If he decides to be a Razorback, I think Arkansas fans will fall in love with him eventually because of his infectious personality and just how grateful he is for everything. He just when he got the offer from Arkansas, Coach Pittman and Coach Sam Carter, that was you couldn't have found a happier young man in the United States. Another guy that I think you could look at for a possible commitment, defensive end Eric Thomas. Talked about him earlier. I think Arkansas could definitely get him on board. Ja'Cory Turner, if they take another linebacker, I think he's another one. So I right now I see three guys that could possibly pull the trigger this weekend, and a fourth, Jalen St. John, could possibly do it and keep it private and go public on signing day. But again, he's got a visit set up for Florida State on the 31st, and we'll make a visit between Auburn, Michigan, and Tennessee on the 24th. So you can't say it's a lock, but the long-standing relationship of Coach Davis and Coach Odom, and he's also he communicated with Coach Pittman when he was being recruited by him at Georgia. So those are the four guys that I could see jump on board. Savion Williams, who knows? Because of his relationship with Justin Stepp, I would not dismiss it. Dismiss him making a decision, if not this weekend, fairly after his visit. But that's just me. That's just somewhat of an educated guess, but his relationship with Coach Stepp is very, very tight. So never rule anything out there. As far as official visits, as far as visits for basketball, Harrison Ingram, the ESPN 5-star, excuse me, he was a 4-star. Now he's a 5-star, according to ESPN. He was supposed to come in for an official visit to Arkansas this weekend, the small forward from St. Mark's in Dallas. But last week he had some bad weather, some tornadoes and thunderstorms in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and one of his games had to be canceled, so he had to. He's going to have to reschedule because he has a game this Saturday, so a makeup game. So that's why he's not coming. He wanted to make sure that was pointed out. As soon as it was announced that he wasn't visiting, he DM'd me and said why. So. Again, and I've said it in other podcasts, I think Arkansas is in very good shape with him. Not saying that he's going to end up being a Razorback, but I think when it's all said and done, they're going to be in it till the end. Unofficial visits, Jalen Williams, future Razorback power forward from Fort Smith Northside, will be there. Arkansas signee Devontae Davis from Jacksonville. Then Duncan Powell, the 2021 small forward commitment from DeSoto, Texas. He plans to be there. Taryn Williams from Mariana Lee High School, the 2021 wing who has got an interest from Arkansas, has some offers already from other schools, including TCU. Then 2021 shooting guard Jackson Robinson, we talked about him not too long ago on a podcast from Oklahoma. This will be his 4th visit since August. You gotta be encouraged if you're an Arkansas fan about that. That's when you make 4 visits within about a 4 or 5 month period. That shows some serious interest, and he even admitted in the last time we talked, and that he was very interested in Arkansas, and but he just didn't want to go any further than that. But Talon Peter from Russellville, 2020 shooting guard. Arkansas has just started to show recent interest in him. He's a guy that has really flown under the radar for several reasons. One, he played spring and summer basketball for a local team that really wasn't on one of the major circuits. He did play maybe a few games for Woods Elite near the end of the summer, but really didn't get much exposure. He's about 6'4", and just jumps out of the gym, 38-inch vertical. He's shooting 42% from the 3-point line right now. So I know he's excited about his unofficial visit this Saturday. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this week's podcast. I'm sure we'll have a lot of news next week to talk about. Expect some commitments as far as football, and it'll be hot and heavy because next week also from the standpoint that the coaches will be on the road visiting prospects and visiting, doing in-home visits with some of the commitments and the targets. So there'll be a lot of news next week too. But that's it for this week's podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.